Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Death Note Part 1, Episode 10, Doubt. Our episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of exactly what happens within this episode. So L invites Light to play a game of tennis with him, which they both take as a test to figure out Light's personality and gauge how alike he would behave to what Elle expects Kira to behave. And this then leads them to visit a cafe after the game, where they then discuss more about the Kira case, and Light is officially asked to work with the task force on the case, as Elle's reasoning is that no matter what, the case will move forward, and with Light's help, will move the case forward, and he also gets to investigate Light from close proximity at the same time, so a win-win for him. Then they both get phone calls in which we find out that Soichiro has had a heart attack. And of course, the immediate thought is that it could be Kira, except Light is Kira and he obviously did not give his dad a heart attack. But they both go to the hospital, and while Soichiro is there, he confirms that L is who he says he is, and also that he's known about Light being a suspect, and L's told him everything, and Light also agrees then to join the task force, however, not until his father is better. And then at the very end, we get a nice cliffhanger where a news station receives tapes alongside a note claiming to be from Kira. So now that we've rewatched the episode, I'm going to rank the episode on our two lists. The first list, of course, is our mostly objective ranking list, and then the second is the personal ranking list, which is based solely on my opinion. So starting with our mostly objective rank values, a reminder that they're mostly objective because my bias and judgment do still apply to them. We have our multi-arc supporting character development, and this, of course, is Soichiro's heart attack. The fact that he got a heart attack, and he says that this is from fatigue and overwork, and we have seen that he hasn't been home recently to visit his family. Light's even had to bring changes of clothes to the station because he has been pulling all-nighters and staying at the task force headquarters, and therefore has a very, very, very poor life-work balance at the moment, which has led to him having a naturally occurring heart attack that has left him in the hospital. We then, of course, get one of our impactful, memorable moment lines, etc. And this, of course, is that mental gymnastics tennis game that Light and Elle wanted to play. I can't think of a single adaptation that I have seen to date, specifically that I have seen to date, that has not had this particular moment within it, whether it is the musical version, whether it is the live action movies, the live action, like the Japanese live action movies, the live action TV show, or this anime, or even the manga. I feel like the tennis one always is included in all of them. I haven't actually seen the Netflix movie. I tried, I couldn't. Anyways, very impactful and memorable moment because it is one that has been shown in pretty much every adaptation possible. And then our final positive is, of course, our multi-arc main character developments. We have Light being asked to work on the case with Elle after he's been tested. And then we also get an explanation of why Elle sits in a crouch, and that is because if he sits normally, his reasoning skills will drop by 40%. And with all of these positives, that does bring us to a 10 out of 10 episode objectively. So as a reminder of our part 1 rankings so far in our mostly objective list, we have first, Rebirth, Confrontation. This episode is third, Doubt. Encounter, Tactics, Pursuit, Glare, Unraveling, Dealings, and then in 10th place, Overcast. So we'll start with the personal list, and this, of course, is my opinion on the episode. Couple of points that stood out to me as either interesting, amusing, entertaining, etc. We have Soichiro basically in a meeting with the deputy director of the Japanese police, and he's basically talking about how disappointed he is in the police for running away, how the task force is now down to so few people, and that the best the deputy director can do for them, because they have to keep the rest of the case secret on L's orders, is to make sure that the public doesn't know that the police have run away from the investigation so much. And then he kind of goes on this passionate tirade about how amazing L is, and he's doing so much more and is so much more capable than the police in this case, and that he's very happy with the work Elle is doing so far. And then it immediately cuts to Elle playing tennis with Light, which we know is part of his job. He's examining Light's mentality in this back and forth that they're doing during the game. But I just like that he's saying how hard Elle is working and how capable he is, and then it jumps to a fun recreational activity, though we know that that is part of his job too. I found it funny, or rather an interesting choice. And then, of course, there's that back and forth while they're both playing the game. They're both overly competitive. Neither one of them really wants to lose. And they're both analyzing what the other person is going to be analyzing about what they are doing in this game. And honestly, they are really spot on with each other as far as, what they're going to read from how they're playing. And yet at the same time, I couldn't help thinking how hard it is for Light to overcome his narcissism. Because, he himself acknowledges that winning the game and trying hard to win the game will reveal him, or at least maintain him as a suspect of being Kira, and yet he cannot bring himself to pretend to lose or to pretend he's giving it his best but then lose so that maybe Elle gets a different impression. He cannot bring himself to do it. He still has to try to win, and when he does, and it just shows how hard it is those base personality traits are to try to overcome. We then, of course, get our ending before the cliffhanger where, Ryuzaki, L, Ryuga, he has a lot of aliases at this point, 3 of them, has gone home with Rotari. He's been in the car, he's driven off, and Light kind of comments to Ryuk, carrying on from the conversation in the hospital he had with his father, about how his father said anybody with the power to kill is unlucky and no true happiness can come of it. And then Light tells Ryuk, you know what? I don't feel unhappy or unlucky since I've gotten the Death Note. In fact, I feel happier than I've ever been. And Ryuk says he doesn't care whether he's happy or not, but that it is a known fact or rule that anyone who has a Shinigami attached to them suffers misfortune. And Light then tells him that he is going to be an exception to that rule. And then, of course, we have our cliffhanger, which is the tapes from Kira. And on the one hand, interesting. On the other hand, as rewatchers, that means that characters some of us aren't fond of are about to appear, and well, some of us aren't fond of them. So, as much as I like the idea of the cliffhanger, and if it was my first time watching it, I would have been, ooh, what's happening next? Why weren't we told Light did this? Because usually we see his plans as they're forming before they come to fruition. But because we are rewatchers and we know the future, I actually feel dread at the cliffhanger because I'm like, damn it, the good times are about to come crashing. But either way, I think it was a strong episode, and I decided to score it an 8 out of 10 overall. And with that, our personal ranking so far is in first place Rebirth, Encounter, Glare, Doubt comes in fourth. Then we have Pursuit, Confrontation, Tactics, Unraveling, Overcast, and then 10th so far is Dealings. Which brings us to our series ranking so far, which is where we will be comparing each of the parts against each other. And with the addition of 10 on our mostly objective ranking, we now have 73 out of 260. And then with the addition of 8 on the personal side, we now have 66 out of 260. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Death Note Part 1, Episode 10, Doubt. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.